The safe word is pickles. Hi, and welcome back to the kitchen. Today, we're going to make fermented pickles. This is a traditional method for making pickles using a fermentation process. Much like in the episode where we did fermented hot sauce, we're going to use the lacto fermentation process. So I have a bunch of small cucumbers here. And if you saw the episode where we emptied the composter and I showed you the rogue cucumbers that grew in the garlic bed, these cucumbers are from that rogue bed. This is a super simple process, and the pickles are like nothing you've ever had before. You would think that you're used to the vinegary taste of a pickle, but when you have these, the lactic acid makes kind of a sour pickle, plus the salt from the brine and whatever other spices that you decide to put in to your crock. Today, going in our crock is going to be the cucumbers, dill, some dried hot peppers, garlic of course, some peppercorns, mustard seed, and I might scrounge around and see what else I can find. But this is the core components for the fermented pickle. And to start, we're going to take our cucumbers and we're going to give them a good rinse, not a wash, because again, we don't want to scrub off the beneficial bacteria that already exist on these vegetables. So I'm going to move over to the sink here, give these a quick wash, and then when we come back, we'll give each end a trim. The blossom end of the pickle has an enzyme that'll cause less than crisp. And I like to just go ahead and remove the stem end also, because that lets the brine really get into the center of the cucumber. I got the cucumbers in the colander here. Now I'm going to move over to the sink and give them a rinse. We have a storm coming through. So if you hear the dogs barking, it's because they do not like the thunder. We're not going to start with all the cucumbers just yet because I don't know how many is going to fit in the crock. This is a 1 gallon crock. So I started with most of the smaller cucumbers. And when we're going into the crock, I like the longer, skinnier ones because they tend to fill the crock a lot better. And again, we're just nipping off the very tips of these. Any kind of cucumber process, whether you're doing a vinegar brine for canning pickles, it's a good idea to at least trim the blossom end of the cucumber, because that enzyme causes the final product to be not as crisp as if as when you were to give it a trim. That one's still got a little dirt on it. Since these cucumbers aren't climbing, they're just laying on the ground. Some of them have a little bit of dirt on them. That's fine. This brine and the lactic acid that's going to build up in the lacto fermentation process will get rid of any harmful bacteria. So now that these are rinsed and we have them trimmed, we're going to start filling the crock. So in the crock, we first put our herbs and our spices in. So in goes the dill. Just break that up a little bit. Our peppers. This wonderful garlic. Some peppercorns. I put in a tablespoon or a little bit more. And then mustard seed, about the same, tablespoon or more. It's really up to your own preference. You can't put too many herbs and spices in your pickles. So we just used them all. That's fine. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. So, dill, mustard seed, peppercorns, garlic. That's it. And now let's stack in the cucumbers. I like to tilt the crock a little bit and then stack the cucumbers in vertically, filling the crock. That's perfect. I don't even think we have room for one more. We might have room for one more. Here's a good one. Let's straighten him up a little bit. Whew, it's getting windy. All right, let's pack this guy in here. Beautiful. So there we have it. That's our cucumbers packed into the crock. And I said in the beginning that this was a very easy process, and I'm not kidding. After the herbs and the cucumbers, and a sip of beer, I have my 2% brine solution here, and that's 1 gallon of water with a half a cup of non-iodized salt. So then I fill. Till we cover all of the cucumbers. We've got a tall one. There we go. Uh-oh, got some floaters. That's okay. So then we take our gallon Ziploc bag, and this is going to act as the weight. And we fill this with brine solution also. And we put brine in the bag because if the bag were to leak and it was regular water, it would change the salinity of the brine. So then we nest this right on top. Uh-oh. I missed a step. It's a good idea to do this over the sink because your weight is going to push out some of the brine liquid. There we have it. Fermented pickles. For the next step, we'll move this down to the basement next to our hot sauce that's already in the fermentation process. And let these sit 7 to 10 days. I have found that the 10-day mark is the sweet spot for a great pickle. You can check this on a every other day basis and scoop off any scummy material that comes at the top, but it's really not a necessary step. I'll move this down to the basement, and then 7 to 10 days later, we'll come back and take a look and see where we're at. All right, a quick update on the fermented pickles. It's about 2 weeks after we started the fermentation. Last weekend was my birthday, and I removed them from the crock and added them to this half-gallon jar and poured the brine into it, and then took it to a birthday party. These are usually a big hit. Last year, a lot of people liked them, so I took them again this year. And as you can see, not very many left. But here, I just wanted to show you what it looks like after it's done. So, cutting a piece, cross section, you can see it's a nice consistent color. They're not super mushy. These ones weren't quite as crisp as last year's, but I think that was the cucumber. All of these cucumbers came from the rogue cucumbers that came up in the garlic bed, but the flavor is really good. Still not, they're not mushy, but they're not super crisp. I don't know if you can hear the crunch in the microphone, but let's see. Pretty good. The flavor's fantastic. a little bit of spice. Not as much as I was expecting with as many hot peppers as we put in there. The dill flavor is great. The garlic is there. These make a really good pickle. After you put them in a jar like this and then refrigerate, they're good for a couple of months if they last that long. Normally, they're eaten up pretty quickly. Without refrigerating, you've probably only got about 2 weeks. And that fermentation is going to continue forward. So you'll get a different consistency in the cucumber. They'll become less crisp, but the flavor will continue to develop. And even sometimes you get a little bit of a boozy flavor, which isn't great in a pickle. But these are perfect right here. So they've been in the refrigerator for a week. After the party, we've had them out a couple of times for other meals, but this is great. Still a lot of crisp. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and stay tuned for our next episodes as we keep on working toward a better Terra, one delicious pickle at a time.